great. It's a wonderful work. I mean, he's an extraordinary man. He did really understand the theatre and how to put characters together and juxtapose them against one another. No, I was lucky. I think I was able to make Don Giovanni work for one reason or another. I was in touch with my internal devils or something, and so it was a large part of my life.
I remember seeing I was briefly working back in England in the early 90s, and it must have been, I remember seeing you on TV doing it. Was it the Queen's 40th?
Yes, there was a big gala. There was a big gala. Yeah. That's right.
Yeah.
We did do a big gala. Yeah. And that was, of course, the bicentenary, the Mozart bicentenary celebrations as well, when of his death.
Right.
So there was a lot going on then. I basically wrote a book around about that time as well, because it was just travelling from one opera house to another, just churning out more and more Mozart for about a year and a half or 2 years or something. But it was a busy and very interesting time. Yeah,
great. Are there roles that you kind of missed out on that you really wished you'd done?
There probably a couple that still. One of them bugs me more than the other. There was I could have taken a particular line of action in my career, and I decided against it. And that line would have been along the Italian repertoire to sing more Verdi, and I sang a significant amount, but not a huge amount, and I never wanted to. I wanted a varied career. I wanted to sing things like Pelléas, and I wanted to sing lots of concerts and what have you. And I never felt entirely at home with temperamentally or artistically with Verdi. Some of it I absolutely love, and some of it I can leave alone very, very easily. It doesn't all appeal to me, but I do. Look back and think, well, maybe I should have done that Falstaff. I was asked to sing Falstaff on many occasions and decided against it. I sang it in concert and sang Ford on quite a number of occasions, and that's the only one I think really. Boccanegra was perhaps another. Simone Boccanegra, which I always loved. I did like that.
Yeah, I guess. Boccanegra and Posa would be the two Verdi baritone roles that I suppose, if I were a baritone, if I could sing, would be the two.
Well, Posa I did sing a lot, and I chose my roles carefully in that particular repertoire. That was one I most certainly did want to sing, and it's such a noble piece.
Yes.
It's immense. I sang it in English, French, and Italian, so I had the best of it really.
I'm not a huge Verdi fan, but that particular piece is very special.
There's greatness in it, I think.
Truly.
I can't get on with Nubian slaves doing sand dances in front of pyramids and things like that.
You should have seen the Aida here.
Yes.
That was a bit different.
Somebody has to do something different with it.
They replaced the triumphal march with the sort of post-battlefield execution of the prisoners of war being desecrated by the ladies of the court.
Oh, right.
Made for a very interesting contrast between the music and what was going on on stage.
Right. Yeah, well, that's. I think that says it all, really. So I'm quite happy with the stuff I largely sang.
Because I don't think I could take a traditional production of Aida ever again.
Well.
Yeah. I'm a very atypical opera lover. I think I have this kind of almost a blind spot for Verdi and Puccini and the like, and I'm more on an arc that sort of goes to Mozart and then takes a bit of a breather and then sort of starts up again with Wagner, but really starts getting hot with Berg and Breton. Absolutely.
Oh, well, there we are.
Absolutely.
Well, we're not so dissimilar.
Yeah, and then through to much more recent stuff. I mean, I would, I crawl over hot coals to see something like Minotaur.
all right,
You know.
right, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, you've had an incredibly long career. I mean, and you're still going. I mean, it's amazing, really. I mean, very few singers.
Yeah, I'm due in Salzburg and the Met and Madrid and various places in the next 2-3 years, and possibly 4. Though I hear my doubts about that. I'm doing it for as long as I feel I can or want to, and the big mistake is to pull out too early. But I get quite a kick from it still. So
But if you're still getting a kick from it, I mean, that's
I continue to do it.
Yeah.
No, I started training in '64.
Yeah.
So it's nearly 50 years.
Yeah.
It's 50 years this year.
It's pretty impressive, really. So what is next? I mean, you've been doing some directing.
I've been directing. I do direct. I've just finished a Don Giovanni. So there was a Giovanni last year, and there was also a Così in Boston, and a Pasquale in Chicago. And then I've got all these other things that I do. I mean, I've got a quite a very varied life. Life in Durham is as busy or as relaxed as I want to make it. In fact, it's really very busy. I've got classes to do up there with students. I'm involved in something called the Institute of Advanced Study, and so I'm.
This is the attempt to clone Princeton, right?
I don't know. It's probably something like that. I mean, there are these things, yes.
Yeah.
It's basic Cousins Hall, but the idea would be, as far as I'm concerned, in this year when they're taking as a theme light, that I'm doing a kind of public rehearsal or workshop on Winterreise. So I'm working with a pianist, and an audience can come along and just be a fly on the wall and listen to how it is we work, and I'll try to explain at any particular time what we're doing. It's something I've not done before, but it's a contribution to the university that I think might be worthwhile.
Yeah.
And also makes, as far as I'm concerned, it makes me look at it differently. I've always looked, at any of my work in depth, but when you're having to not only present it, but explain the presentation and how it works, then you look at it in a much greater depth than otherwise would be the case. So it's quite a nice journey.
What do you really like about the Durham job?
Oh well, I mean, I've been banging on about how wonderful Durham is ever since I left home on a train in 1964 and telling people about it. It's just amazing in England how few people know it,
It's the whole northeast.
All of the northeast is just
that
totally
Northumberland coast is one
It's
of the
just
most
disregarded.
beautiful parts of the country,
I know.
without a shadow of a doubt.
No, undoubtedly. What do I like about it? Well, it's taken me home, basically. I didn't know that would happen, and I didn't know how I'd feel about it if it ever could have happened, but I love it. I mean, they picked up on a very old-fashioned phrase that I used, and now they're producing Hessian bags for people to buy in the student shop that just says, Thomas Allen says, the Chancellor says, you can take the boy out of the northeast, but you can't take the northeast out of the boy. And I'm very much akin to that. It's northeasterners are like that, as you will realise. It's a tight, proud community, and I'm part of it, and to be to be one of the kings of it, which is the Chancellor of the university, is something not to be sniffed at, really. And I love it because it's an association with a great university and its collegiate system, and also the connection with Palace Green and the cathedral and everything else that goes on there. It's an absolute it's a dynamic place where so much happens, and it never ceases to amaze me when I'm there how much is going on. I can't keep track of what's going on. That's my problem there.
Oh, I'm sure
that
that's true.
I ask over and over again, just let me know what colleges